Kyung Jin Min. It's really, I know that it's really hard to pronounce, so you can just call me KJ, my initial. I'm professor at Inha University in South Korea. So, do you know Incheon? Incheon is the city that is close to Seoul, and it has international airports. So when you fly to South Korea, the airport name is ICF, which means Incheon. So as you can imagine, Inha University, it stands for Incheon. And can you guess what Ha means? Actually, it means Hawaii. So Inha stands for Incheon and Hawaii. So about 100 years ago, there was first U.S. immigrant. And so they immigrate into the United States, and they were actually cane sugar farmers in Hawaii. So after settling down in Hawaii, they made big fortune, and they donate some money to Incheon City to make some good university. So they wanted to have Korea's MIT in their home country. So they made big donation, and they donate the money to set up university. So our university name came from Incheon to Hawaii from their immigration history. So here's my talk's outline. I'm going to briefly introduce what aging is and talk about CR and CR mimetics. For CR and CR mimetics, probably tomorrow Stephen and Sven will talk about more details, so I'm just briefly discuss about it. So everyone ages. This is Charles Darwin. He was born in 1909. So this picture his young ages, and when he gets old, you see the changes of his appearance. But there should be some exceptions. So she's John Carmel, no, she's Isabel Adani, and she was born in 1955. So actually she's quite old, but see that in 1992, 1996, 2000, 2004, she looks younger and younger. So she's rejuvenating. So actually she's grandmother, she has grandchildren, and she was born in 1955. So there are some actresses who was also born in 1955, like Kevin Costner, his same age as Isabel Adjani, and Bruce Willis, he's also born in 1955. So here's the lifespan of several species, and as you can see here, just in mammal species, there's huge difference in their lifespan, like insectivores and rodent, they are quite short-lived, and like whales and elephant, they are quite long-lived. So just in the same kingdom, animal kingdom, and the same order, there is a huge difference, and also in the fishes. Some species, they live quite shorter, and some fishes, like rockfish, they live 75 years. So what makes these species different in their lifespan? So one interesting example is lifespan of bat and rodent. So many mice, they live just less than 3 years, but when it goes to bat, they live up to 30 years. So they look really same, they look really similar, but just having one wings, they make bats live longer. And what else? So we don't know quite exactly why and how they make these differences. So what about human? So mean longevity in Korea in 2010 is 77 for males and 84 for females. And the maximum longevity is from John Carmen, who died in 1997 at the age of 122 years. And like John Carmen, the number of centenarian number is increasing, as Edward already told you. So it is increasing significantly. And as you can see here, white, compared to the portion of white, the portion of the black and other are increasing dramatically. So there are some common aspects of centenarians. So they have low BMI, low body fat, and they have low plasma triglyceride, and they have low oxidative stress level. In contrast, they have higher insulin sensitivity, which means that they are less susceptible to type 2 diabetics, and they have higher plasma levels of IGF-1. So what is aging? Aging can be defined as an irreversible increase of mortality and the decline of fertility with advancing ages. So in both humans and fruit flies, their mortality rate goes up with advancing ages, and the fertility rate goes down with advancing ages. So why we study aging? First is academic curiosity. We'd like to know why we are aging. And second, the most important, to retard aging. Everybody wants to live as much as possible. And third, we'd like to reduce the incidence of age-related disease. So many diseases like cancer, diabetes, stroke, arthritis, most of the diseases we know is age-related disease. So they have low incidence of disease in young ages, but when they get old, the incidence goes up. And the last, we'd like to provide the cure for the progeria. So this well-known picture of Warner syndrome patient. So she's 15-year-old one, and she looks 70s or 80s, but actually she is 48-year-old Warner syndrome patient. So by studying aging, we'd like to provide the clue for the cure of the progeria. So from now on, I'd like to speak more specifically about aging in Korea. So this is my favorite slide. So it is quite old data in 1990. So it shows the life expectancy of 50-year-old woman. So if it is just like today, she's lived 31 years more. So she's lived up to 81 years. If we cure cancer today, we barely extend the lifespan of her. So she's about expect to live about 35 instead of 31. And if we cure heart disease, it increases up to 36 and 86. And if you cure cancer, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes, almost all the main diseases we know, she's about to live 96 years. So she's not still centenarian. But if we slow down aging, and this based on the CR study published in 1935, she's about to live 113 years. So these days, we are spending a lot of money to cure cancer, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. But if we spend a little money to slow down aging, we have bigger effect. So aging research is biggest bang for the buck. From now on, I'd like to briefly talk about aging study for aging problem in Korea. So this is actual advertisement from Department of Health. So as you can see here, although it is written in Korean, you see that it is reserved seat. So reserved seat, actually, it is survey, actual survey. When you go to the survey, this is reserved seat, and this is not reserved seat. But maybe in several decades later, it will be non-reserved seat, and this will be reserved seat. And you can imagine that. Why is that? Korean society is aging. So this population prediction, it is increasing. And from 2020, it might be decreasing because people do not give, the child birth rate is decreasing. And when you see the population by age, it is increasing for the age of 65. So right now, about 11% of people are older people. But at the age of 2060, about 40% of our population will be composed of old people. And the problem is that the increasing portion of the old people is growing really fast compared to other countries. So this G20 proportion of senior citizens, right now, Korea is number 10 in the portion of senior citizens. So in 10 years later, it will be ranked number 9. And in 2030 it will be rank 4. So Japan is not changing, Italy is not changing, Germany is not changing, France is not changing. So only Korean society, it is getting quite older and older compared to other countries. And it goes to the burden of aging society. So 2005, to support one old man, we need 8 young people. And 2020, 4 young people will support old men. And by the age of 2050, 1 young man should support old man. So it goes to the, it's written in Korean. It goes to the burden of health insurance. So the line shows the percentage of health insurance that goes to the elderly care. So in 2002, about 20% of the health insurance goes to the elderly care, but it's increasing. And in 2009, about 30% of our health insurance goes to the elderly care. And the bar graph shows the actual amount of money. So there are more than 200 aging theories, and probably next speaker will talk about in more details about the aging theory. And even though there are so many theories, we do not exactly understand why aging is occurring. And for the disposable soma theory, I tested the disposable soma theory recently. So disposable soma theory claims that aging occurs at the expense of reproduction. So reproduction is bad. So given amount of resource should be allocated into your body itself, somatic maintenance, or reproduction, your future generation. And now that your given resource is limited, so you have to wisely allocate your given resource to either to yourself, somatic maintenance, or reproduction. So if you allocate too much resource to your reproduction, there will be less allocation to your body yourself, and it shortens your lifespan. And disposable soma theory has been tested in many animals, like in rodent. If you castrate a rat, it extends the lifespan. So if you stop the allocation of resource to soma, so reproduction, you get better resource allocation to the soma, and it may extend the lifespan. But it has not been tested in humans, never. So you cannot castrate yourself. So there's almost no concerning data so far. And I've examined the lifetime of Korean eunuch. So in Korean eunuch, in Joseon Dynasty, which was established from 15th century to 20th century, they had a eunuch system in Korean royal palace, and they maintained their family by adoption. So eunuch, they adopted castrated boys, and they maintained their family. So eunuch parent, they adopt castrated boy, and the castrated boy goes to eunuch in royal palace again. And their family lineage is written by genealogy record, so we can easily assess their lifespan. So here's their lifespan. So non-control families, which was noble family in the royal palace, they lived around 51 to 56 years in the year of 16th century and 19th century. But their lifespan of eunuch was 70 years. So they lived at least 40 years longer than normal men. So if you want to live longer, you can castrate yourself. So there are many known pathways that influence lifespan extension. So as already Edward told, there are several pathways like insulin-angiotensin signaling, target rapamycin signaling, and AMP kinase, and SOT. And by regulating those pathways, it has been known to regulate lifespan. So insulin-angiotensin signaling pathway is well conserved from mammals to fruit flies. The signaling pathway is well conserved. And also target rapamycin pathway. You may have heard about rapamycin. So rapamycin regulates TOR pathway, and it can extend the lifespan. And also sorting pathway. So SOT has been known to extend lifespan when it is overexpressed. So resveratrol, polyphenol compound in red wine has been known to extend lifespan in several species, and it's believed that it activates certain pathway. But you cannot moderate your gene to live longer. So the only way we can moderate our lifespan is moderating our diet. So diet restriction or calorie restriction means that reduction of food intake without malnutrition has been well demonstrated to extend lifespan in many animals. So it is mouse data. So non-CR, the green, they live about 36 months. But when you reduce the calorie content by 55 or 65%, they live about 50% more than non-CR diet fat mice. So here's the summary of the CR data from yeast to humans. Diet restriction has been known to extend the lifespan in many species. And monkey study, it was tested in 2009 and last September. So in 2009, data by Rich Wilder group in Wisconsin study, A and B it is same monkey, and C and D is same monkey, and they are at the age of same. They are at the same age, and this monkey they fed as much as they want, non-CR group and the CR group. And as you can see here, his skin is quite or looks old, but it is quite looks healthy. So Canton and OM, he gets as much as his food, and OM he get food as much as he wants. And he looks quite young. And this is human equivalent. So this is what Canton ate, and this is what OM ate. So this is what I ate last night. So CR extend the lifespan in rhesus monkeys. So the lifespan was extended, and also when you see the incidence of neoplasia, cardiovascular disease, and glucose regulatory impairment, they have less incidence in the CR group. But in another study that was published last September, there was another ongoing study by NIA in the United States, and in their trial, the low-calorie diet did not extend the lifespan of rhesus monkey. So there should be some difference in the experimental design, but we do not know whether CR extends the lifespan of rhesus monkeys or not. We don't have a clear answer yet. So signaling pathway, as I already told you, it involves toll pathway, and serotonin pathway, and insulin angiotensin pathway. The problem is that to have a meaningful lifespan extension, we have to reduce our calorie intake by 30 to 40%. But nobody wants to do that with those food. So we may be able to mimic the effect of TR or CR by pounced cultivation. So as I already told you, so when you are on the CR, it decreases the T1 signaling or decreases insulin angiotensin signaling. So let's imagine that you went to buffet and ate as much as you want, but after coming back to home, just take one pill that may repress the T1 signaling. So even though you ate food, your body may perceive that you are on diet restriction. So you can deceive your body by taking one pill. So it is called CR mimetics, diet restriction mimetics. So there are several possible CR mimetics, including resveratrol, 2-DG, metformin, and rapamycin. And I didn't have enough time to talk about all of them except rapamycin. So rapamycin, it decreased the T1 signaling, which is involved in the CR pathway. So in fruit flies and mice, both the rapamycin treatment extend the lifespan of fruit flies and mice. In the case of mice study, it does start to feed from the 600 days, which is quite late, but it has meaningful lifespan extension. So my study is searching for other CR mimetics using fruit fly system. And I've been testing several many compounds, and I'm just going to show you one CR mimetics as I found. So it is Mistletoe Extract. So Mistletoe is hemiparasitic plant, and now that you are most of you are from Europe, you may know that it is rare, known complementary and alternative medicine for the treatment of cancer. So when you treat Korean mistletoe extract to fruit flies, they live about 30% longer, both in males and females. And also, it seems that it is mimicking CR. So it is fruit flies that fed non-CR diet. So by feeding Korean mistletoe extract, it extends the lifespan. And they are lifespan of CR diet fed flies, so they live longer. But just treating Korean mistletoe extract in CR diet did not further extend the lifespan of fruit flies, which means that their pathway of Korean mistletoe and CR is overlapping each other. And surprisingly, in addition to lifespan extension, mistletoe extract improved the endurance ability of mice. So mice, they ran quite longer and further in treadmill, and they swim better in the swimming test. So let me conclude my thought. So many people went journey to find the fountain views, and yes, we found the fountain views. The two of us is living daily to the fountain views, and we have to eat less. So if I take the question, I'd like to show you next year's IAGG. So IAGG will be held in Seoul, and IAGG stands for International Association of Gerontology and Geriatrics. So this 20th IAGG conference, which will be held next June in Seoul COEX, and it's organized by the Federation of Korean Gerontological Societies. And theme is digital aging. Now we are living in the digital society. And we also expect 6,000 attendees from all over the world. And it includes lectures, opening and keynote lectures, credential and summative symposia, and oral posters presentation and exhibitions. So you can find more information from the website. So here is the planning committee, and this is the organization, and this is the conference schedule. So last meeting in IAGG 2008 was held in Paris. So compared to the Paris meeting, we expect the more presentation, more sessions, and in Seoul meeting. And opening lecture will be given by Cassie, Assistant Secretary for the Aging at the Department of Health and Human Services in the United States, and Lee, the writer and former Minister of Culture, Sports and Tourism. And there are 8 keynote lectures, healthcare through gerontology and biological aging by Brian Kennedy, and disease modifying drugs, trial in Alzheimer, and third and fourth ages, population aging issue, and changing family structure, information and digital divide in aging society, and signaling the anti-aging process from Yoichi Nabeshima. And there are almost 40 potential symposia. So IAGG is composed of 4 sections: biological science section, clinical medicine section, social and behavioral science section, and research and policy and practice section. And I'm in charge of biological science section. So biological science section has 8 clinical symposia, which includes metabolic regulation of aging, mitochondrial aging, gerontogenes, and stress response, tissue maintenance, anti-aging strategy, nutrition, and epigenetics regulation of aging. We expect, so far, we expect 1,000 participants and from 61 countries, but it will be increasing because we did not finish the registration grant. So we are accepting call for the oral and poster abstract still. So the deadline for the oral and poster abstract is by the end of this month. And we are the deadline for the hotel and host is next May. And the registration fee, if you register by this year, is $500, and it will increase up to $650 for the right registration. And actually, I just skip it. And hosting. So if we want, you can stay in the members of our federation and members of other association and from the volunteered sub citizens. So as you can see here, the foreign visitors, they are wearing traditional clothes and they are doing some traditional games. So the participant is from the developing countries and students and people who want to experience the Korean culture and make Korean friends. They can do hosting. The expense is around $50 to $70 or $30 if this is job by IAGG secretary. And we also arranging site visits. So they have 6 courses. So the course to visit National Health Insurance or Welfare Center or Nursing Home or Civil Care Center. So we'd like to see you there, and I'd like to show you the movie.
Changing how we think of the elderly. It's all about us now. Join us, 2013 Korea, for the 20th World Congress of Gerontology and Geriatrics. Join us, 2013 Korea, the Federation of Korean Gerontological Societies and the International Association of Gerontology and Geriatrics. Digital aging. A new horizon for all ages. Global Information Society. Digital divide and information gap. Access to information. IAGG leadership in the digital age.
I can take questions. Thank you.